And joining me now is Martin Medeiros, who is the Brampton Councillor for Wards 3 and 4. Thank you for joining us on the Peel Weekly News video interview, Martin. Appreciate that.
Hi, how are you?
Excellent. Okay, tell me a little bit about this investigation, which you now, I believe, have been cleared from the Integrity Commissioner. This occurred after you were interviewed by myself here at the Peel Weekly News concerning Amazon's and Brampton's bid for the second headquarters. Now, you gave some information to Peel Weekly News that became the subject of an investigation after some
Yeah.
of your colleagues said that you had divulged too much information. Is that correct, Martin?
Yeah, that's correct. So I think after an interview I did with yourself, which essentially, you had suggested some good lands around the city of Brampton that would be of interest to Amazon. I guess during that interview, my colleagues claimed that I had disclosed information in closed session. So essentially, again, under the Municipal Act, information regarding real estate, personal information. That information which is discussed in closed session cannot be spoken about in public. And as I claimed, when first to my surprise, when my colleagues brought this forward to the Integrity Commissioner, I was surprised because it's the first time I've ever been brought to the Integrity Commissioner. And also some of the comments from the same councillors who had suggested previously that they were being wrongly accused by other media outlets. So if you remember the whole situation with Councillor Miles, and on several occasions, councillors has claimed that journalists weren't being accurate with stories. However, it seems in my case, they didn't give me the benefit of the doubt. They put a complaint against me, and as Wednesday council confirms, the Integrity Commissioner came back with no findings, essentially suggesting that I did not disclose any in-camera information, nor there's any evidence to suggest that. Um, but as I suggested before, and I think you had pointed out in your column, I think this is just another example of those group of councillors trying to put something negative or put some negative spin on me as we gear up for an election. And it's been clear that when you get 5 councillors sign off on this, that really this is a group orchestrated attempt to smear my name in some capacity.
And this is going into the fall election, of course, where perhaps there's some sense that from your colleagues that perhaps you might be vulnerable to defeat. And this is a way, perhaps, if I read you correctly, Martin, that some of your colleagues were hoping to smear you ahead of that election so that you basically would end up losing.
Well, I think it's again. I don't think it's just because of this. I think I've been very vocal and outspoken at council about decisions that my colleagues have made. And I always remind them of increasing salaries when they came in our first year, councillor salaries, decisions to oppose the LRT, basically say no to LRT coming down Huron, Ontario, connecting to the GO station downtown. They made this recent decision regarding Riverstone. I've been vocal about what I suggest they knew or didn't know regarding the OPR. So that's the out of policy request raises that were given, and councillors of the day and previous council all claimed that they weren't aware of the policy. So there's been a lot of things which I've always been vocal in letting residents know and expressing my opinion, because I think not only is it important for the residents to know, but I think when it comes to one's voting record, everything is public information. So I think this was just an attempt for them to either try to muscle me to try to go after me in some negative light, and certainly as we lead up to an election, hopefully try to get negative information. It's not a secret from my mind that there's several colleagues seem to work together, and I don't know who will be running against me in next fall, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's usually your usual cast of characters, and there's some orchestrated attempt to focus on my campaign, for example.
Well, we've had a couple of high-profile retirements announced, as you're aware, with Elaine Miles announcing recently as well, Martin. So, do you see this as maybe a change of the guard, maybe from some of the longtime councillors who had been in Brampton, perhaps moving on and allowing some of the younger councillors and some of the newer councillors, you are, of course, are a first termer, I believe
Mhm.
yourself, to kind of step in sort of the more power positions at Brampton Council. Do you see this as perhaps one of those elections where we see a bit of a change of the guard?
Yeah, I think last election we expected that change of the guard. There was a lot of changes. However, I could. It was very apparent that it seemed to be a group of councillors that seized the agenda, and everything sort of started when we came to salary increases and to the LRT, which was almost a shedding moment, and really really created a divided council. Regarding the retirements, I think Councillor Gibson and Councillor Moore, you got to recognize the service they've provided to the city of Brampton. They've provided a lot of years of public service, but I think it's just natural that over certain years that there is this progression and we have this change that we require a council. I think last term there was some change, and I think we just need further change. And why is that? Essentially, if you look at our budget's almost $1 billion right now. The skill sets that the city of Brampton, in my opinion, councillors, the type of councillors that we do need folks who have those skill sets, who have that experience in working with these type of budgets. And we're a growing community, one of the fastest growing communities in Canada. And certainly, I think some of the councillors, and I respectfully say this, that I think they've did their time. They've made their contribution to the city of Brampton, and I would hope that some of their colleagues. Take the same high road and also go out and provide opportunity for younger blood to come in. And it's not only about younger, but it's different types of competencies. As we know, the city of Brampton is a lot more diverse. It's the changing face of the city, and our council right now is not so reflective of the people we serve. So you'd like to see more diversity there, and like to see more skill sets. People who have either professional experience or have some form of higher institutional postgraduate education, etc. And that's just for the requirements of the day in the city of Brampton. And we're over a population of 600,000 people, and I look forward to the election. In terms of my election, I hope that people judge me on my record. Look at my record. Look how I've attempted to be very transparent and very vocal about some of the decisions, which I thought didn't go our way. And it's about being how we can construct the future. We have a university coming, which was which we've attained in this council. It's a huge game changer for the city of Brampton. We have the LRT, which is currently stopping at Steeles. That's going to be certainly a game changer. We have the hospital and all these plans and strategies that we have. So certainly the type of people that you want to come into council are people who are articulate, people who have a certain thought and comprehension and understand some form of policy, public policy, and have that professional experience and academic experience. And I think that would be ideal for the city. But certainly, I think next election or this upcoming election will really either tell us if we've shed sort of that past and we don't go back to I guess old ways and certainly we just want to bring new people into the political realm and but I will tell you and from a personal perspective I think after 3 or 4 mandates it's really time if you haven't really implemented and exasperated your ideas after 3 or 4 terms I really think it's time for someone to move on and give opportunity for others.
I think a lot of people might be telling you at the door, Martin, as you start knocking, look, you guys, there's just so much acrimony in Brampton Council. It's just you guys can't seem to get along, and you've had some controversial decisions. How are you going to respond to people who say, "Look, I didn't vote the way perhaps you think I did"? I mean,
Yeah.
on the issues like LRT, on Riverstone.
Yep.
Um, do you expect to encounter some of that at the door?
Yeah, I think it's a challenge. I even encounter that, to this day. People's lives are busy. People are not aware of who voted for what, and that's why I think I'm going to be very clear and really promoting on the way I voted. And I say that because I'm proud of the way I vote. There's going to be certainly people who are upset or disagree with the way I voted, but I think hopefully that people really evaluate my performance. From the second, though, in terms of us not getting along. Well, it was very apparent after LRT that there seems to be a group of councillors that Not only were they not providing any constructive contribution to the city, it was more about blocking the mayor. It was more about some political, I think, targeting of just trying to block anything that the mayor wanted to do. And try to control the mayor. You can see that there was a committee created regarding transportation as almost as a result to an article which had expressed the fact that we didn't have a transit-focused committee. And then certain councillors developed, I guess, a strategy to create this committee that's met twice, that there's been really no results out of. And the idea was just to ensure that if the mayor has any meetings with provincial counterparts or federal counterparts, that I guess one of those members would be present. So these are the type of things that have been going on. But speaking to residents, I think in every council, people defend their ideas and what they believe. And I certainly, in fact, when I've come in council, I've basically been faced with the fact that you can either go with the flow, be quiet, and not try to ruffle feathers, or you can just really be transparent and be vocal about your position. I try to work with folks or with certain councillors if they're. I'm always open to dialogue. I'm always open to debate. I'm always open. Unfortunately, there's been a lot of discussions or voting that to this day I'll sit there not understanding what was debated or what was the rationale for certain decisions. It just seems to be some. Again, I won't be able to prove it, but it just seems to be a group of councillors who orchestrated votes and worked together in a committee to really push an agenda that's not reflective of what the citizens of Brampton want.
Okay. Well, listen, thank you so much for appearing on this video interview, Martin. We very much appreciate that here at the Peel Weekly News.
Thank you very much to Peel Weekly News again for always providing information, especially when there's so many media outlets. It's so important that we get out the word of what's happening at the city of Brampton. And I thank you very much for your time.
And best of luck in your coming campaign.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.